excited for Financial Literacy Month again. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Alexis Horne. I am here today with Prairie View A&M University Extension. We are the Community and Economic Development Unit, and we are stationed here in Dallas, Texas, at the North Dallas Government Building at 6820 Lyndon B. Johnson Freeway. That's Hillcrest in Lyndon B. Johnson, on the third floor, Suite 3200. We focus on homeownership, financial literacy, business development, as well as workforce and career preparedness. We offer free community education as well as individual sessions as well. We are an extension of the university that's located here, and our sister organization is Texas A&M AgriLife. So we all work together for a common mission and goal. So as you all know, we are going to be talking about disaster preparedness. We are living in a
Wow.
climate as
I got a
literal
question.
climate. Where,
I got a question.
yes,
Why are we talking about
go ahead.
disaster? Why is that important? Like, I don't want to think about a disaster. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about emergencies. Why is that important? Why would I even think about that?
Absolutely. That is a great question. Disaster preparedness is so important because it plays such a huge role in how you recover. If you are
Mm,
prepared, research show that you are resilient at a much faster rate. You are able to cut costs in terms of recovering from the disaster, as well as it can also play a role in keeping your family safe. Things like meetup points and things like that, knowing your exit routes, checking those documents as well. We know that life happens, and sometimes we have additions to the family and we have different dynamics change. So it's important that we consider everyone's safety, as well as if we're business owners, we need to make sure that we have our important documents prepared, because anything can happen, truly. And research also shows that disasters happen almost every 7 months. So we are in a climate that is not if it's going to happen, but when. Um, so thank you so much for that question. So we'll go ahead and get started, which brings me to my first point. Why is it important? We want to stay ahead of the game as much as possible. And the goal of today's presentation is to give you all some ideas and some discussions that you may want to talk about with your family, so that you all are not only prepared physically, but you have all of your documents uploaded and things like that. And it also give you a better peace of mind. Okay, so first, we're going to talk about emergency. Oh, don't mind. I will have an emergency family plan. Today here, so we're going to go through what is the emergency plan, and we're going to start off with that discussion. We have to sit down and discuss what are the emergency routes? What are the types of items that we'll need during an emergency? And where can we get to? What's some of our meeting points? From Louisiana, we have a lot of flooding. And one of the things that we always, in my is we always ensure that we designate locations, and we also tend to check that spot on a basis just to make sure that it's still there, that any buildings or new businesses that may be there that affect us knowing where the location is, we evaluate that. Communicate, how will we contact each other in the event of emergency? We have a communication plan, and what do we do to prepare our home? And that's not just limited to our physical home, that's documents related to our home as well, insurance, deeds, things like that. I also recommend discussing in detail allergies, things related to medication, and listing those things out. Those things are very, very, very important to include in that discussion while you are creating your family plan. Now you can physically create the plan by buying a binder or a small briefcase that has a fold, and you can type out this plan and you can refer back to it, and you can also use that same briefcase or binder to store your documents and stuff. So you also want to recognize any special members of your household that may have dietary needs, physical things like oxygen tanks and things like that. If you are a pet person and you have animals or any type of service animals, you also want to consider what they'll need in emergency: food, additional water, medicine, and things like that. Also, your children. As I was stated before, as it relates to reviewing that family dynamic each year, if you are having changes to your family in terms of the dynamics, it's very important that you consider what those needs are. Any disabilities or things like that, any older siblings, if you care for your parents or an ailing sibling or things of that nature, you want to consider what would they truly need in an emergency. Those things are so important. You also want to make sure that you protect your important documents. So your passports, your birth certificates, your insurance information, deeds, car registration, marriage license. I remember when I was growing up, my mom and my grandma, they kept all of those important documents under the mattress, just loose under the mattress. And so when we were creating our family plan and we were putting together our sealed box of all of our important documents, we went one by one from the mattress and flattened it out and put it in its appropriate spot. In cases of a flood, fire, or any natural disaster, you want to be able to get to these documents as soon and as quickly as possible. You also want to have them so that when it, as it relates to recovering costs and insurance and things like that, you want to have these documents readily available and all together. It'll make it easier for you in that process. We also, in creating your emergency plan, as I stated, you want to check and recheck routes. Again, where I'm from, it was it flooded very often. So in terms of demographics, in geography, you want to know what streets typically flood, what areas are typically hit harder by storms, what areas typically get more lighting. And you want to help as you're selecting that designation for you all to meet, you want to be sure to include these details, as well as this is very important as it relates to pets. I recommend if you do have pets and you have an emergency meeting spot, practice taking your pet to that destination from your home. See if they're familiar with it, see if there are any things that they pick up or notice, because it's important in case of disaster, that they have some familiarity with the meetup point as well. And you can also go to FEMA's website and get a checklist of different things to help you gather your emergency plan. It's also very helpful if you have a different dynamic, if you have college kids that are away at school or family members that are away at the military, you want to be sure to consider if they'll be home or not during an emergency, and it may be to your benefit to include them in your emergency planning as well. All right, so next, once you create your plan, once you designate your location, you build your box of important documents, you want to practice your plan at least twice a year. As I've stated over and over again, the family dynamics can change. whether that be someone away at college or things like that. You want to practice this at least twice a year because it is very important that you are well abreast of your emergency destination. Also, as it relates to financial literacy, having and practicing your emergency plan, it gives you the opportunity to double check your digital uploads. So that is also a way that you can store your documents as well. If you're more of a tech digital person, storing your documents digitally is something that can really serve as a benefit for you if you find yourself in a situation where you aren't able to save physical copies. That's one of the things, if you need assistance with how to get your documents uploaded to some type of cloud for you to access at any time, please just reach out to me. My contact information is in the chat, as well as it'll be at the end of the presentation. I can work with you one-on-one on how to create your family plan, choose a destination, as well as considering those digital uploads as well. Okay, so again, knowing your evacuation routes and being prepared. So now we're going to go into your disaster preparedness kit. So naturally, when we think natural disaster, we consider things like our food, our shelter, and our water. But we know that although those are the essential things that we absolutely need, there are a few things that we could store away in our emergency kit that may make things a little easier for us. So starting off, bottled water, of course. You want to have a goal of at least maybe a gallon of water per day. You want to realistically prepare for 3 days. My personal opinion, I say the more prepared, the better. So I say 3 at the minimum to at least maybe 7 to 10. I know that that sounds very extreme, but if you have dealt with a natural disaster where you have been completely without water, empty grocery stores, I recommend 7 to 10 on the maximum side. But 3 at the minimum, of course, self-containers with things like crackers, dry fruit, nuts, peanut butters, protein bars, mask and things like that to protect you if there's any dust or any type of chemical in the air. You also want to have a change of clothes, blanket, a pillow, first aid, batteries. I want to note with the batteries, please be cognizant of your flashlights and your devices that need batteries, that you have the right type. I know a lot of my clients that create their disaster kits, they always tell me, I got these batteries on sale, and so I just threw them into my emergency preparedness kit. And then I say, okay, well, what are the batteries for? What are they gonna be using? And then they're like, well, I don't know. I know that I need batteries. And so please be cognizant of when you are storing batteries and you're starting to build your emergency kits, that the batteries that you are collecting are used for the electronic devices that you intend to use during the emergency. Things like whistles are very important, especially when there's no electricity. I know during Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana, whistles played a huge role in people being able to be found in the flood water and things like that because there was no electricity, garbage bags, gloves, things for your infant. If you have an infant, I recommend taking the time to look at their diaper bag and see what is in their diaper bag. And from that, make a list of the things that you feel like they would absolutely need. Now, also with infants, because they grow so fast, You want to ensure that as they are growing, that you are taking the time to update their portion of the evacuation bag. That's why, like I said before, checking 2 times per year is very important, because we know that in a 6-month time, a little baby can go to a bigger baby. And they may not be able to fit the same clothes. And the entire point of us having an emergency preparedness kit is so that we are prepared and that we are clothed to the best of our ability. So to be sure, in your 6-month check-in on your evaluation bag, on your emergency preparedness bag, that you check the baby's section. Any type of special prescription, medicine, and things like that. I just want to note here, dentures and things like that, it may be to your benefit to store the cleaning supplies and all of the things that are needed to preserve them. I recommend that as well. Also consider your medication that has to be refrigerated. Ensure that the instructions to the medication is near it or stuffed into your emergency bag, so that you know what is needed. Maybe a list of prescriptions will be great as well. If anything happens, there's a list of your allergens, medications that you're currently taking, and that can play a huge role in a disaster emergency situation. Canes, an extra cane if you have a elderly household member, an extra cane, you would not believe, serves as a great tool as it relates to being prepared, because you never know what could happen. Truly anything could happen in terms of house fire or some type of natural disaster. Having one extra on hand can play a huge role in mobility, ability to get away and get to safety, and it can make things a lot easier. Also, copies of your driver's license, again, medications, insurance policies, bank account information, financial records, inventories, and home possessions. That's a huge one. I highly, highly recommend going through your home. You can do this on your 6-month check-in. If you would like, you can add it as a task to complete during your 6-month check-in, or you can do it yearly. Go into each room of your home and take a photo of the room as well as your closet, serial numbers and things like that of electronics and family heirlooms. Those pictures can play a huge role as it relates to your resiliency after a natural disaster. You can also take a photo of these pictures and email them to yourself so that you know that you always have access to them. You can also upload them to your Google Files as well, or any type of digital hard drive that saves your information. And then you also want to have a side of cash or change and things like that available just in case. I know that here in my 2 years living in Dallas, I had one instance where my phone signal would not work, and I could not get around very, very easily. So that could easily happen. Even with Capital One, I believe with Capital One, in the last year for sure, they had a glitch within their system where it gave their customers some issues spending their funds. So cash is very, very important to have on hand during an emergency. Okay. So now we're gonna get a little bit more in depth in terms of the items that we recommend that you have. And these are a little bit more specific. So these are things that you may already have already. These are also items that you don't necessarily have to buy all at once, but gives you an idea of where you can start in building your emergency preparedness kit. Okay, so we talked about building the plan. So now we're going to talk about building the actual emergency preparedness kit. Okay, so start with a backpack or some type of large container that will give you good space that is, if possible, waterproof, seal proof and things like that. You can use trash bags. You can use Ziploc bags and things like that to separate medication and documents and things like that. I also recommend, as it relates to your documents, putting them in some type of sealed location if possible. Again, they do have the boxes that you can store in, they have the briefcases, and then you can also do a binder as well and get clear sheet protectors, and you can just slide the documents right into there and label what it is. So then, of course, water. So again, roughly we want bottled water. Roughly each person will need about a gallon of water per day. Realistically, with it, to bathe with it, there is no limit to what the water may be used for. Also, pack non-perishable food items. So again, I just want to emphasize in checking not only your 6-month check-in on your emergency preparedness plan, but also building in time to check your emergency preparedness kit. You want to check the expiration date on your water, on your non-perishable food items. All of the things that you will be consuming, I highly recommend that you check and recheck. Even when you're at the grocery store, shopping for your everyday needs, check the expiration date. What I have seen in my experience, bottled water, depending on the brand, typically only lasts about 2 years. Again, check the expiration date. I know that people collect water and essential things like that in bulk, but it is very important that when you are buying in bulk, you understand that this item has an expiration date. The same with your perishable food items, things like crackers, soups, canned things, and things like that. What I've seen in my experience just as of yesterday, those items have an expiration date of 1 to 2 years. So please be sure to check the expiration date. I for some reason feel as though when we think about non-perishable food items, we think about things that last forever. And that is just not true. That is just not true. Now, there are other alternatives in terms of eating more natural and having your emergency preparedness kit prepared with more natural food items. You can do things like canning and things like that to preserve whole foods and things like that, fruits and things like that. Okay, so now mask, of course, your hand sanitizer, wipes, soap, and things like that. You want to ensure that you have that on hand if possible. You want to be sure to add that into your kit, as well as duct tape and plastic sheeting tape as well. The sheeting tape is just the clear film that you buy from the grocery store that can serve as well. And it plays a really good role in being, and sometimes if used correctly can help you be able to use a dry surface. Okay, so you also want to have a change of clothes. As I reiterated, you also want to check the sizes for the growing babies. Pillow, blanket, one per person per household. You also want to be sure that you have your first aid kit, allergy medication, contact lens solution, glasses, eye drops, antidiarrheal medication, constipation medication, and then your basic needs like rubbing alcohol, Band-Aids, and things like that, headache relief. Again, I just want to reiterate with your medication, they do not last forever. They do not last forever. Please be sure to check the date of expiration on your medication. In my experience, allergy medication typically lasts only about 2 years. And I say only, it seems you buy it one time and then all of a sudden you don't pick it up again until 2 years later and then it's expired. So be sure in that time that you're checking that you are checking the dates. It's so important. So just a few other things that we talked about that you want to add: your flashlight, extra batteries, a whistle, garbage bags, toilet paper. Be sure to add toilet paper, basic tools, so screwdrivers, pliers, maps, even of local streets. If you do use maps, I recommend that you check with being able to update those maps if possible, or if you insert a atlas or a dictionary or books for you all to read in terms of entertainment during some type of emergency preparedness, some type of emergency situation. Maps may be to your benefit. If you look at the screen, if you're viewing the screen right now, at the bottom right, there is a little toolbox, a little mini, it's a radio and it's connected to an iPhone. That is an emergency radio. And it has a flashlight. You crank it up and it has a flashlight, and it also has a short power source for your phone. They do sell those on Amazon. They're about $30. But that is a great item to have inside of your emergency preparedness kit, just in case the power goes out. That is a great power source that doesn't require you to use gasoline and things like that, like a generator would. It does allow you some electricity. And then again, be sure to add those basic tools. Okay, so next, all the things that we need for our little baby: formula, diapers, wipes, diaper ointment, baby wipe, powdered milk, a thermometer, a nose pump, those things that make their day-to-day life easier and your life easier as well. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this as it relates to the dentures. You want to be sure that you have your diabetic and insulin supplies, things for your contact lenses, any type of schedule in terms of when medicine is taken. A list of the medication is great. I always recommend creating a medication calendar. If you have a family member that takes different medicine on different days at different times, has different stipulations and things like that, create a calendar so that it is easy to follow. If the person that is responsible for that task is not able to do it at that time, you already have this calendar and it makes things go a whole lot smoother. Okay. Again, ensure that you have all your documents. I recommend, again, digitally saving these files as well. You can use Google and things like that. One of the things I want to mention is your financial records, bank accounts and bank numbers, credit card information, your family photos. That is another thing in terms of preparing for emergency. If you have photos in your home, of people that you love very dearly, or keepsake items in your home. Take a photo of those pictures to have stored away in your files as well. That is something that I highly, highly recommend, due to just seeing so many times family photos get lost in natural disasters. Digitalizing your family photos can be a part of your process of getting ready for a disaster. Okay, so that is an item that if you feel like that is something that is important to you, please add it to your list, please. And then lastly, emergency contact information. Who to contact, family relation. You also want to have that, if not digitally stored, you want to have that in your binder as well. Okay, we talked a little bit about cash, phone chargers, portable chargers as well. And then lastly, we're going to talk about your fur babies and having them ready. So some of the things that they may need, of course, food and water. They may have medications, special collars, or harnesses that they need. You may want to pack a toy or two for them, photos of them, any type of registration or important documents that they may need. And then you also want to make sure that you pack some plastic bags to assist you in cleaning up behind your animal. And it can also maybe serve as a bowl as well for them to eat out of as well. Be sure to check the expiration date again with their food as well. And lastly, just to recap, we want to ensure that you all are ready for disasters. Ensure that your fur babies, if they can go to the veterinarian before a natural disaster hits, that's great. You can get a copy from them of their shot records and things like that. They have these cool microchip collars as well, if that's an investment that you would like to make in terms of keeping up with your fur baby during that time. That serves as a great tool as well. So you'll have your family's emergency preparedness to go kit, and then you'll also have yours as well. Again, update every 6 months your emergency preparedness plan, your emergency preparedness kits, your fire alarms, carbon monoxide protectors, your fire extinguishers. Practice your plan and updating your kit. And here is a QR code with some of the resources that you all can take advantage of. And lastly, I have a survey. If you all could use the QR code to answer the questions in the survey, I would absolutely appreciate it. It plays a huge role in the work that I do. So please, please, please answer the survey.
Yes,
Does anyone have any
indeed.
questions?
Yes, indeed. Thank
Okay.
you so much. I appreciate it. Can everybody use your phone and just capture that? Also, I'm going to put it in the chat as well. And thank you. Anybody have any questions? Any questions? I know that Alexis answered all of our questions for the most part. It was a wonderful, very necessary presentation. You really gave us a lot of things that I would not have thought about. Case in point, like I have a fur baby, so I'm a real pet lover, and I am going to make sure that I walk Freedom to our designated spot. Not that he's going to remember it, but he's going to do his own thing. But at least that can trigger his senses. Okay. So there was a lot of good information that you had given to us. You know, one of the things that we all may encounter one day is some type of emergency, some type of disaster. And how do we financially prepare? We financially prepare by what? People that came through my counseling, what are we going to talk about? Budgeting, um, emergency savings, right? Because if those things happen, how are you going to go to a motel? How are you going to, go get some food and get something to eat? But if you plan those things along, then when it happened, you'll already be prepared. So this is a very important piece to our literacy, okay, literature, financial literature, because there are things that we just don't think about in your brain. It's going to go into survival mode when an emergency happens. And you might forget and be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Where do I got to go? What? And I always tell my clients, have a digital folder as well as a mini cheap little fireproof safe so that you can have your hard copies. For those of you that don't like your things on the internet and you're afraid it's going to go into the cloud, then have you a fireproof, waterproof safe that you put your hard copy documents in. And you know what else I do? I also have a safe at my sister's house. I have a mini safe at her home. And so I have duplicate documents, you know, at her home with that information. And then also I have my digital file that is secured. Okay, it's a secured file. So these are things that, you know, you just don't think about, like you said, about the formula, checking the dates on your canned goods and your water. Alexis, all of those things are very valuable. I really do appreciate you giving us that information, because those are things that I'm going to be honest with you. I'm 52 years old. A lot of those things I did not think about. And there's no bigger financial bind than being in an emergency and not be prepared. Okay. I'm not going to hold you. You did a wonderful job. I'm not going to preach over your preaching. I just really love what you said and just wanted to put it back in everybody's mind. Y'all do the survey. Let us know how important the information that she's giving you. Please do that survey and let her know how well that is. And if there's something else you would like to know or like for her to present at a later date, send us an email, send her an email and let us know. Thank you. I appreciate you, Alexis. Have a good rest of your day. Is there anything else you want to add? All right.
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
Again, thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity. Happy
Yes.
Financial Literacy Month, everyone.
That's
And
a tongue twister.
absolutely. I look forward to the next collaboration. You all have a great day. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. You have a good one. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Oh, by the way, guys, we have another financial class that is going to be on tomorrow, April 17th, 10 a.m. Identity theft and consumer grounds with Matthew Rents at Federal Trade Commission. Y'all, he's from the Federal Trade Commission. Some of y'all done left already. I'll send an email, but you want to join, you want to find out about this identity theft and consumer scams. Y'all want to come back for that and get some information about that from the Federal Trade, okay? All right, everybody have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.